morning, everyone. Good to have you on the line today. Hope you're doing well. Today we're going to have some fun with ML.net, just like last time, right? It's going to be awesome. How are you doing this morning? Tell me in the chat. Let me know how you're doing wherever you are in the world. Let me know what you want to talk about. Good morning, Daniel. How's it going? Good to have you on board again. How's the weather in the Netherlands? Sunny, that's good. We got a pretty cloudy day here in DC. We had a warm day yesterday. It's getting colder now, but yeah, can't have everything. We had a very cold spring here. Usually it's sweltering with humidity, but not too good so far. Yeah, that's awesome. So Daniel, what do you feel like you want to go through today? I was thinking we could go through Docker containers with ML.net and see how we can deploy it using that. Of course, any questions, we can look at the GitHub repo as well. Kind of whatever everyone wants to look at. Awesome. Well, we fortunately can say at least that the PR that we did last stream was successfully merged this morning, which is awesome. So we got our first contribution in. I would say it was actually easier than I thought to pick up an issue, so I'm very stimulated to do that more. So that's going to be a really fun thing to do. I hope you all also felt that was something we can all do together, or just whenever you have a second to do so. Cool. All right. Well, so what we should talk about today, I guess, is Docker containers, and I will give you some information directly that I have actually pretty limited exposure to Docker so far, and I look forward to kind of learning more about it together with you, also seeing how we can deploy these machine learning models to a container. If you look at good, if you look at something like scikit-learn or TensorFlow or anything, I guess, in the Python world when it comes to machine learning, they generally get deployed to Docker container, put in a Kubernetes cluster, and kind of off we go from there. Which works just fine, right? That's kind of what most people use, so we can scale up easily. It's a perfect cloud-native solution. We can move it from Azure to AWS or to Google Cloud, or wherever you want to host your solution. The cool thing with ML.net, of course, is that we don't necessarily need to do that. You know, we can do it as a ASP.NET Core application, desktop app, Azure Function, whatever, but it doesn't limit us from also deploying it to a Docker container. So today, let's have a look at how we do that. So when I was thinking about this stream today, I was looking at different examples out there. And I think Luis mentioned at a previous stream as well that he had a repo open for just this specific scenario. So I actually took a look this morning on what he has available. And it's a great guide to get started with some really cool steps to go through. The thing with this repo is that it's a couple of years old, of course. So it's running on ML.NET 0.4, I think, actually. So even before the general availability release. And also on .NET Core 2.0. So I thought we can have it as an inspiration, which is awesome. So thank you, Luis, for contributing to this repo and making it available for us all. But I thought we could kind of create our own solution and kind of see where we go and learn together on the obstacles we run into. And then we'll see how far we get today, if we manage to actually get something deployed or if we just get something halfway. Cool. Sound good so far? As always, you will have the chat messages just up there, just above me. So if you have any questions or you want to kind of divert the topic or just talk about something else, just kind of hoard the chat and we'll pivot, I guess it's called, when we change direction. Awesome. So first thing first, we need a model to be able to do this, right? We're not going to spend too much time building a model today because this is not the topic of today's stream, but we still need a model. So I thought I'll pick an example I have available already, where we can quickly just train a binary classifier to predict the sentiment on customer reviews. Super simple, but it will do the trick, and I like it because it's only going to have two properties that we need to kind of pass in or manage, which makes it very lightweight, so make it very quick to just focus on the Docker part of it. So if we go ahead and run all of these cells, we should be able to train a model. And this is using Interact. Again, this is a desktop application for Jupyter Notebooks. What we're doing here is pulling the packages with this #R syntax. We're defining the schema, just like this, with the sentiment and the review. We are pulling a CSV file here with the reviews from this data path, and we're just loading that into data view, just as we usually do with MLNet. So far, if you have used MLNet, it's pretty straightforward. This is just kind of looking at the data, so we can see we have some positive sentiments for these reviews, and this one here seems to be very negative. So at the end, what I'm hoping is that we can stand up a container where we can pass in an HTTP request with, for example, this review, and we will get back false or true. That's kind of what I hope to achieve today. If we manage to also put this into an Azure Container Registry, and maybe even to an Azure Container Instance, that will be fantastic. But we will kind of see how much time we have today, and if we end up diving into a specific topic. So we see this be running, we see that we have a distribution that is pretty uneven, but fairly okay. So most of them are positive, not too many are negative. And eventually here we'll come down and we'll save a sentiment classifier as a model. And we have a pretty good accuracy here, 96%, which is good, but what I really like here is the F1 score here. It's almost 1, it's 0.98 almost, which is a very, very, very good F1 score. So this seems to be a very robust model that we are able to use. Cool. And we can see that we have our model right here. All right. So we got our model, we are good to go. So how do we deploy something to Docker container? Let's think about that for a little bit here. What do you guys think? I think the easiest thing to do here is create an ASP.NET Core API and just use a simple example on how to containerize that, and then look at how we maybe can serve that model for this use. For example, maybe from file as part of the container. Maybe we want to do it from a URI instead, so we may want to put it in a blob storage and read from there. Let's try different things here and see how we do. But anyhow, we do need to create a solution for this, so let's do that real quick. And again, the music you're hearing is Carl Franklin's Music Code By. It's very soothing. I like it. So let's create a new project here. We will create an ASP.NET Core application. Let's see. This is interesting. I can create a specific one with Docker support. Let's have a look at that. I actually don't know what that is. Actually, let's not do that because it's going to probably start doing Kubernetes and stuff. And let's keep it simple for now. So, oh, sorry, where'd it go? So let's find the web API here. Come on. Okay, we don't want a framework app, we want the ASP.NET Core web application, perfect. In C#. We'll call this something fun. Let's see, let's call this view predictor. Okay. So hopefully we can have an empty one here. Let's do an API one, I guess. Cool. Alright. So, thank you all for joining, those who just recently joined. What we're going to do here is we're going to create the .NET Core Web API, and we're going to that is going to predict the positive and negative sentiment of a review, and then we are going to containerize that and see if we can deploy it somewhere. Cool. So we see here that we have the app right here, and we have tons of stuff that we don't need. So what we'll go ahead and do here is we'll go ahead and create a controller, and we'll just call it predict controller. Okay. We'll put it in the controllers. Yep, move it please. And what we want to do here, right, is that we want to do public bool, I guess actually, predict, and we want to pass in something fun here, but let's wait with that. We want this to be a post with a body, and we will say that, just copy paste this actually, that the route is going to be the same as the name of the controller. That's not what I want. Let's pin this to save some time for us. Okay, perfect. And we'll give this a route as well. Let's say this is going to be the predict method. Perfect. So we need here as input is of course the payload that we are going to use for our predictions. And if we look at how we create our model, we need something that is super simple, something like this, a product review. And we don't even need a sentiment here, but we'll just go ahead and create a simple model folder here to serve that. Okay, model. See if we can get that working. Nice. Create a new one here. We'll call this model input. I'm going through this fairly quickly just so we can get to the fun part here of containerizing our application. And if you have any questions during the meantime, feel free to stop me as always. Happy to answer them. I hope you all are registered for the ML.NET conference, by the way. It went out in the, I think, dev blogs for Microsoft this morning, which was awesome. And we got some registrations this morning. So that was tons of fun. We're closing in on almost 200 people that are registered all across the world. It's really exciting to see how that is taking shape. All right. So we can see here that we so far are passing in a product review, and then we are returning something. So if we just run this real quick here to make sure things run through Postman and we have the right route, what we'll do after that is we're going to wire up the model and make sure that works. And we'll just remove this one here. I always like to do some kind of piping first to make sure that things are working as expected before we dive into some more complicated things here. Okay. Let's start Postman and see if we can hit the method that we want to hit here. So has anyone found any new cool issues we can contribute to for repo? Have you had a look through the different things that are available? I found quite a few fun ones in just documentation, which is perfect. Sometimes those are also really useful, of course. Okay. So let's do review. This is a review. And let's see if this goes to the right place or not. Post, predict. That was bad naming, but okay, well, we'll go into it right now, so that should be fine. Let's change it up a little bit here to get a distinct name for this one. Let's do just do review here. Try it again. So what are you all drinking this morning or afternoon? Are you coffee people or tea people? Is it so late that you're having a beer? Or something else fun? Let's see. Why is that not working? Predict, controller, predict. It should be hitting it. Yep, that's correct. No service type. Okay, let's not complicate this. This is not why we're here. Let's remove that. Keep it simple. No beer, but coffee and tea. Perfect. Well, that's a healthier choice. That is truly, anytime is a good time for beer. Yeah, I've heard that the beer sales have gone up through the roof lately, just because of the quarantine. So that's a lot. Awesome. Okay. Thanks for joining, Luis, by the way. I was showing you repo just before we started here as a great example on how to containerize an ML.NET model. And I was just referring to this as a good source to start with. And since it is a couple years old and it's using the older version of ML.NET, we're going to kind of start from scratch and kind of learn together. But since you are on the call today, you can help us, which is going to be awesome. Alright, so perfect. So now we have that all set up. We have our controller method. So what we need to do now is install some packages, and then we need to make sure we serve this model correctly. So what we'll do here is we'll install a package to object browser. Let's find a package manager window, and I learned from Daniel last stream that we'll just search for it, and that's much faster than trying to find it. So we'll do that. Okay, so install package, Microsoft, I think it's called ML extensions, maybe, nope, extensions. There we go. So this is going to allow us to serve a model through a proper engine here. So what we want to do here is we want to be able to create this prediction engine pool where we can inject prediction engines using the dependency injection that we need. And like that we will just have a better time doing this. So what we can do here is in services now, I believe what we can do is, and this is going to be interesting actually to see if this works. Services. Stop the debugging. I think we could do add, what is it called? Prediction. Let's Google that real quick if you don't know it. Prediction engine. I always forget the correct syntax here for this extension. Don't know if that's the one we'll look at. I think the good one is right here, I think. Perfect, here it is. All you heard was beer. Is that where you joined, John? Beer is definitely enough. We are responsible people here. Okay, so here's the syntax I wanted. Cool. Alright, so if we add this here, we will be able to serve our model correctly. And John actually has some great videos on this. So we'll do product review. And we have to create an output as well. So we'll create an output here in models. Okay. And let's call this. So this is going to be our prediction, right? So it's going to be prediction and prop. I think this is going to be score. And let's see. And I forgot what we'll call this. What's the correct attribute to put on this one? See you if I find it before someone online finds it. Train, extract the model. Is it load column name? Predicted label? Is that the right one? Oh, it's a column name only. Yeah, it's probably true. I think this is gonna be score, right? John, do you know if it's predicted label? Well, I guess we'll find out soon, but I think that's it. Alright, we'll try that. Okay, so we got that. So now we have to find a path here. So what I'm wondering here is this relative or is this absolute, this path? Because what we want to do here is we want to, copy this one that we just created, this sentiment classifier, and we can go ahead and just copy it over to where this repo is. But cool. Luis and John, do you know if it's if they accept relative paths? Because if you copy this here, what I'm wondering is, can I do this? Yep. Yeah, exactly. We can definitely drop it there, and I think that's what we're gonna have to do. Daniel's correct. When we do our Docker containers, we have to make sure we copy this over next to the DLLs. But let's try this for now and see if this is going to work. We have to assume it's going to be there, so let's try that. I think we're all on board. Yeah, exactly, yeah. Let's try that first. So what we want to do here is inject this into the constructor here. So predict controller, prediction engine pool, I think. Okay. And what is the... That's the one I want. Let's do product review, model output. cool. So now we have this one, so we should be able to now use this pool real quick here to make our predictions and make sure we have this working locally before we do anything else. Okay. We'll try that in a bit, Daniel. So can we just do this? Let's see if this works. And prediction. So let's see, in theory that should work, I think. That's true, John, that's true. It's probably not gonna work because of that. Yeah, we have to copy it out to the output folder for now. Let's do that before we do anything else. So glad I have so many experts on this line. This is definitely like an expert call. It's like, I feel like I'm doing an exam here. Am I behaving correctly? Am I doing things appropriately according to Microsoft standards and community standards? It's awesome. Cool, let's start it again. Yeah, I have a workshop for this, Half-Day workshop I teach sometimes, and I have like in big bold red letters, like, change the copy always, otherwise you'll be sad. And yeah, I forget it all the time as well. Okay, let's see if we're hitting. Okay, we get true back. I never really trust it without actually trying it, so I'm going to put a breakpoint here to make sure this works. Okay, perfect. We're hitting the point and we're getting true back. Alright, so now we have a proper API. Super simple, but you get the point, right? And we can use that. So now we want to make sure we can go ahead and also do a Docker image of this. So I'm going to open up VS Code instead. It's just a little bit more fun to work with, I think, when it comes to these things. Open up a new terminal and go to where we have this repo. I think it's here. Okay. So I'll definitely need your, I think, help here. So you can open this up again in the folder here. So what I was thinking here is that what I want to do first is just see if you can put this app in a container, copy over the model as well in a proper way, and then run it locally to make sure that works. And I thought the best course of action here, especially since I have limited use of this or knowledge, is to go and look at a simple example for Docker file. Oh yeah, can I? Okay. I want to check that, Luis. Thank you. Do you know, Luis, why we have... I saw that before that you can do this, but I wondered, is the get prediction engine pool, is that used if you have multiple models registered and you want to get the specific one you're looking for? I'm kind of assuming that's the case, at least. Okay. So let's do what we always do when we do programming. We Google, right? Google things. So we're going to Google here is .NET Core Docker Web API, and we'll hopefully be able to get a good starting file here. Okay, cool. So what I assume we should do here is create a new file under this folder, Docker file, I guess. Is that what you usually call it, right? Maybe not with a capital F. Okay, and we'll go ahead and copy in the kind of the boilerplate things here, and look at what we're doing here. So what it's going to do here is going to pull down the latest image of .NET Core 3.1 as our build environment. That makes sense. Going to set the working directory to app. It's going to copy over all the CS project files in wherever this is run, which is here. So we have this one. It's going to call the net restore in this one and copy everything else, okay, and then publish it out. And then we're going to build a runtime image and use this one. So we're going to layer them on top of each other. Yeah. And finally, we're going to have an entry point here for our API. And in our case, since it's called this, I would assume it's going to be called review predictor, right? It's going to be assembly. So I think if we do this, we'll get a good starting point. But what we'll be missing, I assume, is going to be the model file. So let's see. We want to add it somewhere here. And I assume we want to add a copy here. So source destination. So we want to copy sentiment classifier.zip. And actually we can just copy, in our case, this. And we want to copy to destination folder. And would it go into, I think we just go straight in there. So I think we can do this. And that should probably get it in there. What do y'all think? Do you think I'm missing something here? Or do you think this is workable? Only dot, okay. So like that, Daniel? Okay. I'm happy to try that. Ah, that's true, Eloise. That's true. That's a good thought. Do you want to try to not have this first and see if it's kind of copy part of the publish? Because that actually would be even simpler, right? Okay, let's try that. All right. So new terminal, and let's see. It's a Docker build, I think, right? And we have to give a tag. And we will call this, I think I have a registry on Docker, just simply. So maybe let's call it my ID, and let's call it review predictor. And then of course dot here, I think, right? So I pulled down the SDK 3.1 yesterday already, so we don't have to wait for that one at least. So that's going to save us some time. Let's see if that works. Awesome. Okay, restore works fine. Okay. Pulling out some other things here. Nice. So Luis, since we have you on the line here, what do you think is what would you like developers to contribute to the ML.NET repo? Do you think there's more need for documentation? Do you think it's more need for code changes? What are your thoughts so far on that? And for those who doesn't know, Luis is a content developer at Microsoft, I think, right? For the ML.NET team. And he will be giving a workshop on the 29th for the virtual ML.NET conference. Okay. So I'm going to try to run this as well. Yes, I know, Daniel, you know. Alright, let's see. What are we calling this image again? Review predictor, right? Okay. Yep. Predictor. Okay, so let's look at actually Luis' documentation here. I think that's where you want to run the Docker container, right? Run. Okay. Let's see if that's working. Okay. So it seems like Okay, seems like listening. So, it seems like we have to go to 5,000 now since I did that. Okay. So, it did not want to work. And why is that? The container is running, but it's not responding. Yep. I think the Cobase is the documentation is a great way to start. Okay, what did I do wrong here? Let's see. I want to run the container, but it did not want to start. Well, it's starting, but it's not responding. Let's see, what is it saying here? Is it not finding it or something else? Let's see, proxy settings proxy. Let's look at that real quick, I guess. I think this should be working, but apparently not. It's not what I want to do. Settings. Okay, I think we have things set up the way it's supposed to be here. Search response. Yeah. Turning off. Okay, system general. That's a good point. Let's try that. That's already off, so that shouldn't be an issue. But is it something as simple as this? Oh, okay. We didn't have SSL on, so that's you pointed me into the right direction, Daniel. Thank you for that. We definitely had to fix that. Cool. I love the side discussion here on the docs. I really like the docs. I kind of rediscovered that as well. I want to be more a part of that. If there's ever like you know, an issue you don't understand something, you should just go ahead and open an issue for the docs or fix them. It's the best way of maintaining documentation. Alright, so we seem to be able to run this properly, and we're getting back the response. So I think something really cool that I learned here today is that we don't need to complicate the Docker image so much. If it's already, if you can already copy it out to the output folder, it's going to work just fine when we publish it, and it will automatically be included as part of the image when we do this. So that's really cool, I think. I'm really happy about that. So what do you guys think about trying to deploy this to an Azure container instance and see if you can get it to run in the cloud as well? I would like to try that at least, and I want to see if I can. What we're going to do here is we can try to log into Azure and do that. So let's create a resource. Let me switch my account here. So it's a really cool example. A community member as part of the Gitter channel for ML.net. He's working on some really cool examples of training machine learning models or ML.net models like in parallel. So he wants he has like an application, I think, that serves on web requests. He actually retrains models on demand by pulling data from blob storage. And one of the things he's done, like I think this weekend, was to containerize them as well and put each model training in its own container, and then just letting the application retrain them on demand. And apparently that has really reduced his the time it takes for his application to serve his customers. That's really cool, I think, to see how this can be used. Instance. Okay, so container instances. Gonna create one. I think what we can do here is create a new resource group. We'll call this MLNet container. Super good name. And we'll call this container name MLNet. Put it here. And I think we can just... Can we push this image to my Docker Hub first and then get it there? Let's try that. Praise the CLI. Yes. So let's stop this one. So what if can I do this? Docker push, is it already here? No. Docker push review predictor latest. Let's see if I can push that to my own register. I'm sure I could have done this through the Azure container register as well, but I'm going to try to keep it simple here, so I'm a beginner on Docker. Exactly, yeah, Luis. That's a very good point. Is it 5 or 10 minutes? I actually sent Omar in this case that suggestion as well to use a serverless Azure function for training. But I think it's only 5 minutes. But maybe it has been extended to 10 minutes. But I think you can also use like a durable function, right? So you can coordinate the training with durable function to get that to work. Yeah, I think that's a great idea. Okay, refresh here. Nice. Look at that. We got our thing pushed here. Well, that's awesome, Luis. I'm glad it's 10. That's definitely been an improvement. I think it was 5 before, and it limited some use cases. And 10 is going to be very useful. So, okay. So I think we can do this. I have never done this before, so please don't kill me if this is not working. But what we're going to try to do is go to my specific register here and pull this. I'm not sure if mine is public, honestly, but we'll find out soon. Let's see. So that's deployment's underway. Perfect. So, of those on the line right now, how are you considering deploying your models? Would you deploy it through like just a normal web API and maybe consume it as part of the application? What do you think? Do you go to Azure Function instead, or would you deploy it to a Docker container? Daniel, have you had a chance to deploy any models into production, or mostly still investigating the use? Let's see, that's complete. Go to resource groups. Yeah. I think also, I think I have most use cases for a web API because that's kind of the cool features, but doesn't hurt. Okay, cool. File server. Okay, so we have our register open, and we seem to have our container running as well. Oop. That's good. So the question I have now is, how do I access my container over... how do I make a call to this container? Let's see. I'm assuming it has to do something with a common URL here. And of course we can Google this. Yeah, but that's good to know, Daniel. I think that's the common scenarios. Okay. How do we call it? So we have a container here. We have a instance called MLNet. and we have a container called review predictor. How would I access it from outside? Is there a good way of doing that? Let's see. I feel like it would be a URL there somewhere. It's running. Properties, okay. It's a good start. Properties is a good start. Nope. I don't think it's gonna be here. That's just the resource ID and those things. Public address in properties. Oh, okay. Okay, so you think I can do... Let's try that. So you, are we thinking we can do this? Huh, look at that. Yeah, that works too. So what were you referring to, Luis? You were saying that you can go to overview here. And, okay, IP address from here, yeah. Yeah, that makes sense. That's pretty awesome. So, with pretty little hassle, we actually managed to get it to a container instance from a Docker registry. And I'm sure we can also push this to an Azure container registry and kind of go over there. But it's pretty awesome. I will say it was like pretty seamless. I mean, 45 minutes doing this. Of course, assuming we have Docker installed and Docker and all those things set up properly. But I have very, very little knowledge of Docker, and I'm thrilled, honestly, that we managed to get this to work. I did not expect that. We had so much effort as well. So that's awesome. So cool. Well, that's deploying to Docker, and that's something really fun. So what I wanted to do right now with kind of the remaining maybe 20 minutes, half an hour that I'm going to stream today, I'm going to see if we can contribute to an issue. Yeah, PR? Are you referring that we should contribute to PR, Daniel? If so, you're thinking the same thing. Cool. All right. So let's find an issue we can start on, right? Does that sound good, okay to you guys? I was thinking of one yesterday, actually. And I'm not sure if I have it open here or not. Nope, I have it closed already. But one that I wanted to do, I think, had to do with some exception that we could probably knock out pretty quickly. Let's see here if we can find it. So let's find a good good issue here that we can try to solve. If you have one that you want to have a go at, if you look at yourself, can I just pass it my way and we can do it together? And I'm going to, let's see. Oh, cool. That's awesome, Daniel. That'd be awesome if they make it public. I would love that. Let's see. Okay, here it is. Yeah, I would love to contribute to that one as well. So I found this one yesterday, and I thought that could be something we can go into and try to solve at least. It seems to be a bug. It seems to be priority 2. I assume P2 stands for priority 2. And seems to be easy enough for us to kind of tackle. And the issue here seems to be in the deep learning library, that we are catching an exception, and then we're not throwing that as an inner exception, so we're losing information as part of this exception. So I think it would be a fairly straightforward thing to solve. So let's have a go at it, I think. So what we're going to do is we're going to open up the Eml.net solution here and see if you can locate the code for this. Git, it's going to be under machine learning. I got too much machine learning. Let's see if we can find this. So it's called dnn-utils.cs here. Let's find that part of the code as soon as you open this up. So John and Daniel, if they made the repo public for the model builder, what are some things you would jump on if you had a chance? What are some bugs you're seeing or feature requests you would like to get implemented? Utils. Okay. So I don't think they have a DNN utils. It seems like they have renamed that. So we have to find that. Yeah, that's a good one, Daniel. I like that. Per feature. I have an standing issue with like loading CSV files from Kaggle. That just doesn't work, and I would love to do that. Yeah, bugs. Let's search here. I'm gonna search for this exception to find this somewhere, because I think what they've done is rename this file to something else, and we have to try to find it. I think we'll do that. Okay. Alright, so they have renamed it from DNN utils to TensorFlow utils probably, since this bug was created, which makes sense, it's more specific. And if you look at where this is in the code, this seems to be in the TensorFlow library, so that's pretty cool. We get to at least look at the deep learning parts of the code, even though it's going to be a simple issue than that. So it sounds like we are loading a TensorFlow session here, and when we're doing that, if we can't find, I guess, the graph for these tensors, so the neurons and the weights and biases, it seems that we are catching an exception, and if so, we're throwing this one. I actually have seen it myself, this exception. So an inner exception here would be very useful to understand more what issues we are finding. And I'm curious to see what this is called. So let's kind of explore the code a bit here, learn more about it. This seems to be used in a TensorFlow transform class. And it's in the create one here. Okay. It's factor method. Okay. And when we're doing some kind of data transforms here, funny enough, this is not being called anywhere, but maybe using reflection or something else, so we can't find it. Okay. Well, we won't dwell too much on where it's being used, but that's interesting. Definitely, it's always fun to kind of dive into these parts of the code and just explore and learn more of this. So the issue right now is that when we call throw, and this thing right here, whatever this is an exception context, and call accept here, what we're doing under the surface here is passing in the message in a context, and we are creating and throwing a new invalid operation exception. And what I assume we want to do here is that we also want to pass in inner exception here, and we want to embed that into the invalid operation exception here. So do we have any? Okay, we have inner here, but it doesn't take a context. We want the context as well. But we do have this one right here, which does something similar. But I think we actually want to create a new one, because we don't want to do the get message here. We want to retain as much of the functionality as we had. So let's copy this one here. Oop. And let's take away the args here. Let's take away the get message here. It's probably just a formatting method. let's do that. And we also have to pass in the inner exception somewhere. And the context. Okay, so we already have one with the same parameters. And where are you? Okay, I guess we don't need to find it. We'll just remove it and try to call it instead. But that's good. Awesome. So let's go look at the code again here. So what we want to do here is, instead of just passing in the message here, we also want to pass in the inner exception here, which is going to be the exception, I assume, here. And if that's all we need to do, that is super simple. And it's not even worth to write up an issue about. Okay. Well, that sounds fun. Let's try to create a PR with this issue. Actually, do we have any tests for this issue as well? Let's see. So do we have, it's going to be really hard to test because we're instantiating a graph right here, so we can't really force this to throw an exception unless we do something with model bytes that is being passed in. But it's an internal static method, so it may be a little bit tricky to test this one. Let's see. Do we have any usage we can use for this one? Well, in the meantime, let's create a new branch for this. So this issue is 4409. So let's create a branch for that. As in inner exception into message. Let's use the master branch for that as a base. Bring my changes over. Perfect. Okay, we'll call this pass in inner exception to invalid operation exception. Let's publish that to Git, and let's kind of explore the code a bit more to see if there's any way we can add a test for this, because that would of course be ideal, but I haven't seen any places yet. It's possible that we may be able to add a functional test for this. This is being used right here. Create. Okay. Let's see, no references found for that one. That's fine. We're not going to bother too much about that. Go back. Cool. What's really cool right now is that we actually have 5 new registrations for the conference as we speak during this this talk. I don't think it's because of the stream right now, but I think it's because of the dev blogs that came out last night. Again. Okay, so I think we're going to settle without tests for this one right now, because it seems tricky to add one, and I would prefer some guidance from maybe Eric or someone else in the team on where we can add tests, if we can add any. So let's make sure we open a PR instead to have this done. So compare and add pull request. So we want to make sure we have a good description. We'll do fixes, and this is 4409 here, and we'll do a description. Passing in caught exception as an inner exception to retain information. Okay, Let's add a note about the tests here, because that's definitely going to be a review comment. This instruct me. If needed. Okay, and we have we do that, and we have one change. It's like the smallest change ever to this library, I think. If this actually gets approved, then that's awesome. We'll add a new name here. In what's the file called here? It's called load TF session. Okay. Create PR. Awesome. Okay. So we have something up at least. We'll see if that works. That's kind of just the nature of the beast, right? We have done what we could with that one, and hopefully that should work. Alright. Yeah, right. We'll see. I mean, Daniel or Luis or John online here, or anyone else online, would you have changed anything? Is there anything else you thought we could have done differently? I feel like that's the straightforward fix at least. It's sometimes that's as easy as it is, I guess. Okay. Let's find another issue that we can start looking at least. And also, I guess a general question for you all as well. Do you find it rewarding to solve issues for the repo together? Thanks, John. I find it super rewarding to kind of hang out with you all and add things to the repo at the same time. So I think we have something for this one. Awesome, Daniel. Let's look for up for grabs, right? So we have quite a few up for grabs here. Is there anyone that speaks to you? I'm going to zoom out a little bit so you can have a look here. One that I looked at really quickly was this one right here, but I think it's a little bit too complex. Because it's I haven't used threading channels too much, but it has to do with concurrency, about changing out something called buffer blocks, which is a pub subscribe method for concurrency to threading channels. But given that I don't have too much insight into threading channels, I thought maybe that's better suited for someone that has. But that could be something we can look at. This seems to be a performance issue or a suggestion. For using value or get value default. It sounded on the comments on this one that they are not really decided yet on what to use here. Let's see. Anything else here that looks appealing? You did, John, with TPL data flow blocks? Did you find it, or the get value defaults? Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah, I remember actually seeing your comment here. Do you think it should be closed instead, maybe almost? Maybe it's just being kept open for no reason. Okay. Let's look at good first issue here instead. Let's remove that. Okay. Alright, we'll look at quite a few here. Well, I think what I want to do here is I want to challenge you all to pick an issue that you want, whether that is good first issue or if that is documentation. And before the next stream on Saturday, it would be awesome if you could have a go at yourself, honestly. If you look at here, we also have documentation labels, as mentioned earlier, and there are quite a few of them, and some of them are difficult than others, but things like this, for example, is just removing future in the plan docs. So there's ways to get started here, and I really encourage you all to have a look at it and kind of see what you can do. And, you know, we just saw one here right now which was 10-minute fix and it's done, and the one we did last stream was maybe an hour together. So I think you can all do this, and it'd be really cool to see if we can get a couple of these issues done before the next stream on Saturday. So feel free to try that. Alright, well, I think with that, I want to kind of conclude this stream. If you have any questions, anything else you want to discuss today, if you have any suggestions for upcoming streams, please let me know as well. I think what I really like so far is finding a meaty issue in the repo and tackle that together and do that. But I also want to make sure we go through some of the things in the repo and what you can do with ML.NET to ensure that we learn something new all the time. Something I really want to look into, I think, is ranking recommendation systems. I have not a chance to look at that so much. That may be something that's coming up. I'm also talking to Ravi, who was on a stream a few days ago, and we are potentially going to do a joint stream together where we are going to look at machine learning from the start with ML.NET. So something he has identified is that, of course, a lot of documentation for machine learning is in Python and assumes you're using TensorFlow or scikit-learn to do everything, and not so much is in C# or ML.NET. So what we want to do together is go through different sections from starting with just ML introductions, and then see how we can look at the ML lifecycle together, see how we can look at different ML tasks together, and apply those things to the ML.NET library instead. So I'm really excited about that. I'm sure we'll have more information about those joint streams in the next week or so. So definitely stay tuned for that if you are interested to tune into those. Awesome. Well, if you have no questions otherwise, I wish you all a fantastic Tuesday. Really thank you for joining in today. I had a blast as always doing this with you. And if you have any questions or just want to chat about ML.NET or anything else in general, my DMs are always open on Twitter. Just reach out. Thank you so much, guys. Have a fantastic week.